How am I, my lovely hot fans? Today we are going to be reacting to one of my least favorite videos that I used to watch in childhood for 2026. Also, by the way, today is my birthday, and I'm 16 right now. Looks like I grew up so faster than childhood. Okay, let's get started instead.
What did dictators do before they became dictators? Stalin was a gangster. He robbed trains and banks, kidnapped wealthy families for ransom, and even carried out a raid in 1907 that stole millions in today's money. He used fake names to dodge the police. He spent years in prison, but each time managed to escape, coming back more dangerous than before. Mussolini started as a school teacher, but quickly turned to politics. In Switzerland, he lived in cheap hostels, constantly broke, and was arrested many times for fighting at protests and starting violent strife. Later, he took over Italy's biggest socialist newspaper, Avanti, where he filled the pages with fiery calls for revolution that got him noticed across Italy. And then there's Hitler. He dreamed of being an artist, applying twice to Vienna's art academy and failing both times. Rejected and bitter, he wandered Vienna selling postcards of his paintings on the street just to survive. Teachers once suggested he study architecture, but he refused. Instead, he chose to start World War II.
How did world leaders react to Hitler's death? Churchill received the news while eating breakfast, but he refused to celebrate publicly. He warned his cabinet that the war was not over and Germany could still fight. He believed celebrating too early would dishonor the millions still dying across Europe. President Truman said, "I hope the bastard died of a brain hemorrhage." He also feared the consequences. With Hitler gone, he worried the Nazis might fight even harder. But Joseph Stalin's reaction was the strangest. When his generals told him Hitler was dead, Stalin didn't believe it. He insisted Hitler must have escaped and ordered Soviet troops to find the body. For weeks, Stalin spread rumors that Hitler was still alive, hiding somewhere in Argentina or Spain to spread confusion in the West.
Live results will shock you.
Have you and Jeffrey Epstein ever been in the same room together?
I was at a party and he was at that party. I never spoke to him. I never met him.
So the answer is yes?
The answer was yes. I was in a room and he was in the same room.
No, I'm getting a little deception. No? The truth?
Guys, New York City is about to be an absolute disaster. Game 3 of the NBA Finals is happening. It's the first game in New York City, and the preparation for this game has been insane. It looks like literally every single NYPD officer in the entire city is outside Madison Square Garden, to the point where I'm thinking someone might try and rob a bank since every cop is focused on this game. They also completely shut down 15 whole blocks in the city. Nobody can go there unless they have a ticket or work at one of the businesses in the area. Apparently, this is because Donald Trump is going to the game. I guess he's a lifelong Knicks fan, so obviously security is not playing around. I also saw this guy impersonating Trump on the street. He is like playing with his life. All it takes is one idiot who thinks this is the real Donald Trump, and that guy's gone.
Iran has just started firing missiles at Israel again, and that means the airspace in the Middle East is going crazy. A few tankers just took off in Tel Aviv, and they're, of course, the most tracked flights right now. This one with 25,000 trackers, 18,000, and then 20,000 on the ground. Another one of the most tracked flights just took off in Tehran. It's an MD-88, and it's at 20,000 as well.
Things got a little bit spicy in the Middle East over the evening of June 2nd going into June 3rd because U.S. Central Command had to successfully defeat and intercept numerous Iranian ballistic missile threats as well as UAV attacks. According to U.S. Central Command, Iran launched several ballistic missiles towards their regional neighbors. However, all of them failed to hit their intended targets. 2 Iranian missiles fired at Kuwait fell short or broke apart en route, and then 3 missiles launched at Bahrain were immediately intercepted by U.S. and Bahrain air defense forces. In addition to that, U.S. Central Command shot down 3 one-way attack UAVs that were launched by Iran towards civilian mariners that were rightfully transiting regional waters. And then in addition to that, U.S. Central Command conducted what they're referring to as self-defense strikes on an Iranian military ground control station on Qeshm Island. They said that no U.S. personnel were harmed and that CENTCOM forces remain vigilant and ready to defend against unwarranted Iranian aggression during the ongoing ceasefire. So after all the UAVs and ballistic missiles were intercepted and the United States conducted a self-defense strike on Qeshm Island, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps did another attack afterwards with ballistic missiles and UAVs, again saying, quote, in response to the arrogant and blatant aggression committed by the terrorist American forces in targeting the national sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran on the dear island of Qeshm, the aerospace force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, by the grace and support of God and in fulfillment of its pledge to protect the homeland, bombarded the military bases of the American occupation in the state of Kuwait with precise and intensive missile strikes. Basically, they said that they hit all the targets they were trying to hit, which U.S. Central Command responded saying that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard claimed that they struck U.S. 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain and a U.S. airbase in the region with missiles and UAVs, which was false. They said all Iranian attacks on American forces failed. U.S. forces remain vigilant and ready to defend against unwarranted Iranian aggression. That being said, they might have failed in hitting U.S. military bases. However, in that last wave of attacks, Iranian UAVs struck Terminal 1 at the Kuwait International Airport, causing significant structural damage to the passenger building there. At least one civilian lost their life, with multiple others being wounded, with some reports saying close to 60 people were wounded. Flights were suspended or diverted, and then Kuwait's General Civil Aviation Authority and airlines like Kuwait Airways acted quickly, with some operations later resuming partially. There's been a bunch of video and photo evidence of the damage that happened to Terminal 1 at the Kuwait International Airport. Now, apparently there was some debris from interceptions that took place over Ali Al Salim Air Base that crashed into the ground, but it didn't cause any damage to any infrastructure out there, and none of the strikes actually reached the base.
25% of the world's oil goes through this one U-shaped body of water, and right now that U stands for because it's been wreaking havoc on all of us. You know, the 99.99% of the general population who don't own oil companies. Anything from filling up your gas-guzzling automobile or copping a plane ticket to enable your very own white boy summer. It's about to be a white boy summer. Even eating food. Even acquiring new clothes, a fresh pair of Louboutins, now the sun's out.
Things are trying to violate, man. Pulled me over. Step on my Louboutins. Can you see these Louboutins?
Even splashing out on some new Benadryl for your gay fever. I mean hay fever going into this summer. It's all got a lot more expensive, which you've probably noticed, haven't you?
Yeah.
I know you have. Well, this is all due to Trump and Netanyahu's recent very, very, very ineffective attempt at a regime change in Iran. The new Ayatollah Khamenei, who has much more public support within Iran than his father, and is much more religiously extreme as well, maybe due to the USA and Israel murdering / martyring his dad, his wife, his son, his sister, his grandchild, his niece, his nephew, his son-in-law, his daughter-in-law, has kind of understandably taken some pretty extreme retaliation measures against the West. No, I'm not talking about Iran striking 15 countries with their
The number
No, I'm not talking about Iran striking 15 countries with their Shahed drones. No one really cares about that. Look, they're Arabs. They can just take bombs to the dome. It's chill. No, I'm talking about hitting the West in the only place it hurts. The only shit America or Israel or the UK or any of us care about. Money. Yeah, 150 teenage girls died by American Tomahawk missile. I'll be sleeping just fine tonight. But wait, you're telling me oil hit $120 a barrel? Fuck! I can't sleep. I can't be alone with my thoughts. I might throw myself off the One World Trade Center, bro. I might throw myself off the US Bank Tower in LA, which Larry Silverstein just bought alongside California's mayor Gavin Newsom, claiming that Iranian terrorists may or may not drone strike the West Coast using the exact same drones that the US just started producing with the help of Lockheed Martin, whose stock is absolutely skyrocketing. So whilst we foot the bill of the Strait of Hormuz being shut to Western tankers, you know, any American, Israeli, European, etc. oil company tankers can't set sail without being incinerated into atoms, whilst Chinese and Russian tankers sail freely, by the way. Yeah, whilst we foot the bill, whilst we pay for this insane foreign policy with prices literally for everything skyrocketing, the top 0.1% of Western society, who all have defense contract shares, Lockheed Martin shares, oil company shares, AI company shares like Palantir, for example, they win. Fuck my chud life, bro. Fuck my chud existence, bro. You wanna know how blatantly corrupt this man-made Hormuz oil crisis is? Well, you may remember how Trump bartered $1 trillion deal with Saudi Arabia. Some space for another star on that flag, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, we have a 51st state, Venezuela. On January 3rd, 2026, we watched the USA attack their capital city, Caracas, targeting residential areas and blowing random civilians to smithereens in order to create chaos and distraction, allowing the US Army to topple the government, arrest and extract their president and take control of Venezuela, apparently.
We are going to run the country.
The former President Maduro has been kidnapped and flown directly to the land of freedom by the USA's Delta Force. During the extraction, he was seemingly in good spirits, staying hydrated, all whilst wearing a full Nike Tech tracksuit. I assume he was also listening to SD Kid, and he's now locked behind bars in New York City. Just like some of my goats, bruh. Just like some of my all-time goats. He's being held in the DEA building alongside his wife. They are both charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy and cocaine importation conspiracy. However, everyone should really be able to see through these charges. Like, what, I'm supposed to sit here and genuinely believe the man who attended Diddy parties and Epstein parties and was caught on camera looking like this is opposed to cocaine importation? No way, bro. No fucking way. I actually think Trump came up with this whole story about him consuming 1 million cans of Coke a day, the drink, just to hide any accidental slip-ups he says about his actual drug addiction.
Since this video early took 12 minutes, it took us like it turns how all the things comes to an end, or it turns out it comes to a start, everything comes to an end after I make a new video. Whenever I make a new video, you upload it, you made it, you get exposed for something that you never fit wish about. It looks like there's something behind the darkness that you should never be wishing about later. Anyways, I'll see you soon.